So my first comment, just referring to what Milica has said, that there is no universal definition of hate speech and hateful content. Today I would use hateful content. That's a broader definition, but I would give you the floor.
I'll start, I guess. So my name is Nika. I currently work in London for Media Diversity Institute, mostly by either creating social media content or creating social media strategies. Sorry about that. Planning around social media engagement and just generally outputs that are meant for a broader audience. I work on the Get the Trolls Out project with Miro, in fact. And yeah, I mean, within the project we monitor for anti-religious hatred, so a specific sort of subsect of hate content or hate speech. If images are speech, this is sort of a more philosophical conversation than what I would usually participate in. But we generally try and focus on content that actually serves inflammatory when shown to others. So while there are multiple definitions of hate speech, not one universal one, what we try to operate in, since we have an emphasis on media content, is things when they're shown to other people that are going to cause a sense of fear, a sense of lawlessness, a disidentification from the people who are going to be mentioned in the articles proposed. So it's not just illegal hate speech, although obviously things that are sort of illegal calls for violence fall within that. But it's also something that is, there's this famous US Supreme Court judgment about the definition of porn that goes, I can't tell you in writing what it is, but I know what it is when I see it. Hate speech has a similar sort of tone to it, or hateful content has a similar tone to it. It's very difficult to talk about it on an abstract level, but then when you see an article that repeatedly and for no particular reason keeps mentioning that a Muslim perpetrator does this, and then this Muslim person from a Muslim country, it becomes very obvious that yeah, this probably falls within what we want to be talking about. So that's the sort of brief opening, I guess, idea of what we work with.
Yeah, hello. My job at Amadeo Antonio Foundation has been since 3 years now to watch the internet for far-right and right-wing populist content and to analyze what's their strategies, what are they doing, on what platforms they're active, and what are their narratives. So that's my background for this. Yeah, I would actually have a very strict definition of hate speech. I think it's really important to think about why do we need this definition compared to other things. First of all, I would exclude bullying from hate speech because it's not because of protected categories. And also insults are not part of hate speech. Often when you read discussions online, everything that's bad is flagged under hate speech. But I think why these things are bad, these things are not hate speech. For me, it's hate speech if it falls under these protected categories like age, sex, gender, sexual orientation, because these are groups that are targeted more by society, and it's not just a normal insult. So you have to have a structural reason behind all of this, and also there has to be a different power dynamic. Right now, social media companies do it differently, but when you tweet "men are trash" hashtag, people posts get deleted, but these posts don't have any influence in the real world. A lot of other hate speech has consequences in the real world. It leads to attacks on the street, and I think that's an important difference to make.
Yeah, so your final sentence was a perfect introduction to what I am doing, because I have besides other things, I have an educational program called Words Break Bones. It is mainly nowadays a media literacy project, and I am extremely grateful to the Center of Independent Journalism and also to the Get the Trolls Out project, because they both facilitated it and helped me to develop it. And the idea is that though now here what we are doing, we talk about language all the time, and we understand that language plays a crucial role in our lives, in the lives of society. Still somehow we have very little understanding or preparedness when it comes to language. So when we are talking about the rise of fake news or disinformation, if you will, or hate speech, I personally, Milica listed in her presentation other terms. I prefer to use the term dangerous speech. There is an organization in the United States, I work with them, and they proposed this term, and we discussed with you, Bea, as well before, that it sounds to me more useful because sometimes, as you said, hate is not explicit, right? So there is a sentence which may even look innocent, though you as a listener, you know it's not innocent at all. So that's why you can still say it is dangerous, though it is not explicitly hateful. So I prefer the term dangerous speech. So what I am trying to do in this program is to teach journalists, media workers, to be careful when it comes to language, both when they are exposed to the language of other speakers and both when they produce texts themselves. And besides that, I teach at a university in Hong Kong, but I'm originally from Hungary and I spend a lot of time in Budapest as well. Right now I'm a visiting fellow at Central European University, and I also frequently work with everyone who is interested in media literacy and who likes to share this kind of knowledge with the public. For instance, we also work together in the Klartext project. So this was in a nutshell my background and interest.
Hey, I have to make a confession. I'm not a proper media or journalism expert. I'm a literary critic. I do my research about contemporary culture and not journalism proper. But what my approach to this, I can't give a definition of hate speech this way, but my approach to this broader issue we are discussing is on the one hand, my recent research has been about the role of personal stories, first-person stories in digital public space. How these first-person stories, with their very strong affective effect on the audience, can be seen as counter-narratives or can be seen as a part of these broader toxic narrative structures. And the other thing I'm interested in, and that's connected to what we are discussing, is how I try to use my literary background in teaching journalism, teaching media studies. I am very much interested in narrative theory, and I find it's very difficult to make students understand that objective reportage is a myth, and narrative theory might do a very good service in that, to make them understand that there is no objective narrative report on anything. So maybe if they are able to break with that myth, they will be able to differentiate between different narratives and different levels of appropriate reporting on events. Thank you.